Hey, friends. I just sat down with Evelyn. This woman is a firecracker. I love her so much, and I think that you will too. She's hilarious, but she's also very well grounded and self aware. She speaks very openly about her experiences with disordered eating, as well as finding surgeons in Mexico, plastic surgery, and even her relationship with her body. So there's really a lot of great information in this session. And whether you're considering bariatric surgery or plastic surgery, I think you're going to find some pearls in there. So sit back and enjoy. Hello, Evelyn.
Hi, Dee Dee. We're
Uh,
here.
we are here finally.
Finally,
Finally.
finally. Sisters under the
Yeah,
skin.
that's right.
Seriously.
So, and I've always been really interested to talk to you for a number of reasons, but one of them is that you had your surgery at the same place that I did, which in Mexico, I mean, it's crazy that we hadn't crossed paths
I
really.
know, I
So
know. From the same
I
town
really,
in this one hospital when they do it all over Mexico, but we both researched and found this place
yeah,
and wasn't
yeah.
it around the same time? I was 2000, you were after me, right?
I was in 18
Oh, in
actually,
18, so I was just
2018.
following
Yeah.
you. Okay, okay.
Yeah. So, but that's sort of getting ahead, but that's one of the things that I'm really excited to dive into. But before that, I really want to hear your story. How did you tell me about life leading up to before surgery and what prompted your
Well,
decision?
Well, I always was a little on the heavier side as a kid. I wouldn't say obese, but definitely plump. I was never one of the thin girls, one of the pretty girls.
Yeah.
Always just had some chunk on me.
Hmm.
And in high school, my parents split up briefly, and during that time, I discovered throwing up. And made myself throw up, and I lost 18 pounds. And I toyed with that, and I never told my folks that. They don't know that to this day. And
Hmm.
and I realized what I would feel like looking thin, and I wanted to be thinner and didn't know how to do it otherwise. But then the intellectual side of me, I was a smart kid, and I was like, this isn't healthy. I must be able to do it a better way. So I stopped doing that. So it was a very brief time in my life. It was, I'd say, less than a year that I toyed with that. And went off to college and still wasn't one of the thin girls, still always had meat on my bones. And met my husband, and he liked me with meat. He didn't care one way or the other. He just loved me. And so what prompted my next session of dieting was he asked me to marry him, and I wanted to wear my grandmother's wedding dress. I was named after her, and she had a beautiful gown, and she was married 50 years before my wedding date. So we were married right at their
Oh.
50th anniversary. And they were both alive and both celebrated their 50th anniversary at my wedding. And they had their own
Oh my
cake and their own
gosh.
table and the picture of grandma. I went on, what was it called? Nutrisystem back in the early 80s.
Oh,
Nutrisystem.
yes.
And so I crash dieted on Nutrisystem and was able to lose about 40 pounds so that I could
Mm.
fit into grandma's dress. And so
Oh.
I did it for an occasion, and I looked great. I felt fine and couldn't maintain it because as soon as I quit buying the prepackaged foods, I put on that 40 plus about 20, which is what I had done
Hmm.
the first time when I had lost the 18, crashing with vomiting. I put on the 18 plus about 20, and then it was the
That's how
40
that
plus about
works.
20. And so
Yeah.
then Then we had 3 kids back to back. Yes, 3 kids in 2.5 years. So I had a 2.5-year-old, a 1-year-old, and a newborn, and I never lost the weight from the first one, the second one, or the third one. So it all kind of piled on. And so back when I was 40, my brother talked to me about Atkins, and he really thought that that would be something I could do. And so I threw myself into Atkins, and I lost 88 pounds, and I looked terrific. And I spent all of my 40s around 160, 150 to 160 to 170 pounds. And then as soon as I started introducing something as benign as fruit back into my life, the weight started coming on. And
Mhm.
because I hadn't gotten the portion control down, I don't think, and I wasn't calorie counting. I was simply doing the straight protein pretty much, and no carbs, or limiting my carbs to less than 20 carbs a day, which, if you know about carb counting, is very hard to do. Um,
Yeah.
and then, so of course, what I did was I gained my 88 back plus 20.
Hmm. Always.
So then I just said, I'm not doing this again because I'm going to end up being 500 pounds.
Mm.
Each time I lose it, it just comes back plus more, and I can't get a hold of this. So I just gave up. And then my weight just kind of slowly just kind of crept until it just kind of peaked at about, I think I was when I finally got on the scale after about a week or two of dieting, I had gotten to 251. And so I don't know what I was at my peak because I was too chicken to get on the scale. But I had seen a photo of myself, and I sent it to you, Dee Dee. It's a picture of
Yeah.
me in a purple dress.
Hmm.
And I never let myself be in photos. I was always the photographer. With my children, there are very few pictures of me with my kids in their life, because I was always the one behind the camera because I didn't want anyone to see what I looked like for real. And I certainly didn't want to see it.
Mm. Yeah.
So, yeah. So,
Evelyn, how tall are you? Just for
5'5",
perspective.
five
Yeah,
five.
yeah, 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 yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And so I was in about a 22, 24 at my peak.
Hmm. Hmm.
And that's when I decided in 2020, I didn't know, COVID hit. We were eating at home always. And I'm like, gosh, we're all hidden by masks. We're all hidden away. This ought to be the time I could do it. And I won't tell anyone. I didn't tell anybody except my husband. And I think the
Yeah.
folks that I worked with they needed to know, because they needed to know what
Hmm.
kind of surgery, how long I'd need off. But oh my goodness, yeah, I didn't tell any family because I didn't want anyone to know, because I was sure I was going to fail at this too. And
Hmm.
so I didn't. So I went. I snuck down to San Diego and went down to Hospital BC. After I did about a year, I started in 19 to 20 looking into who was the best reputation, who had the best record for lowest nosocomial infections, which are infections that can be caused by hospitals themselves. Who had, board internationally certified people there, if there it was even such a thing. And I found it. And so I was extremely happy with my decision. My husband was not behind me. He allowed me to do whatever, because of course he doesn't allow me to do anything because I do whatever the hell I want. I'm a grown woman. But um but I tell him when I'm going to do something. I don't ask his permission, but I hope for his support. And he wasn't very supportive, because he's just like, I don't think it's a good idea. You're going to go by yourself, because we have 6 pugs and he had to stay home with the pugs. And I'm just really worried, and you're just going to gain it back. What's the point? And I'm like, oh, hmm. So I went down, and I'm like more bound and determined ever now, because I'm just going to gain it back, was ringing in my ears. And I couldn't believe what a wonderful experience it was. It was so easy. It was so easy.
Yeah.
How could something so life-changing take 45 minutes of completion? They did a lot of prep work ahead of time. They did my thorough physical with my x-ray, my blood work, my EKG, my pre-op with the doctor. I knew it was going to happen. And once I went under, 45 minutes later, my life was changed. And I didn't even know it at the time. And it was so easy. And I woke up going, did they do it? I wonder if they had to abort the surgery because I didn't have any pain. I was like, I
Right.
had to
Yeah.
look under my
Me too.
gown. And I was like, there were 3 Band-Aids. I'm talking Band-Aids.
I
3
know. Teeny
Band-Aids.
tiny. I know.
I know. Regular old Band-Aids. And I'm like, that's it. That's literally it. And I said, I hope this works. And doctor came in to see me with, I believe it was the anesthesiologist, Dr. Evelyn. And he said,
Yeah.
so do you feel the constriction? Well, I didn't know what he meant. So I'm just like, no, I don't really, and now I understand,
Yeah. Yeah.
and all that. And I still have the constriction, and I am 5 years out this year. And
Yes.
I still have the constriction. I lost 100 pounds. I'm still down 100 pounds. I'm at 150, and so 101 pounds. But I'm at 150, and I wear about a size 10 to 12, depending on the brand. You know how that goes. Um,
Hmm.
and size, medium to large in most things, because I have very broad shoulders and a broad chest, so I have to wear large all the time in tops. But my life is so much better. I used to limp because I had pain in my hip and pain in my left knee and pain in my foot. And I got foot surgery when I was heavy, but I had a horrible limp afterwards. So I was a fat 50-something limping woman. And I just felt old and frumpy. And then all of a sudden, the weight just kind of melted off. It just melted off. And I learned some things along the way, not to overeat, because if I do, I will throw up. And it's kind of like a release valve. It's like, ooh, now you don't want to push yourself so that you throw up every time, so that you're like, okay, that's how much I can eat. You want to stop before you get to that point. And so I've had to learn some
Yeah.
of those
Yeah. Yeah.
lessons.
Yeah. Sure.
Timing on when to drink waters versus, when to eat, and my portion control. I eat like a toddler. I
Yeah.
always use a toddler plate. I started by using my kids' toddler plates, and now I just use what is it, salad plate.
Like a salad plate. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yes.
and I
Yes.
always start with my protein, and then I'll
Hmm.
eat my vegetable with the protein a little bit. And then if there's a side that someone has made, I'll take a little bit of that so that I can get 1 to 2 bites of it, so I can get the flavor. That's all I need, because I'm going to be more than full, and I will feel fine for hours, and it tastes great. And I haven't gained anything back. It's just crazy. I hate to tell you, but I do eat ice cream. I factor it in. I look now at calories, because I tend to gain weight if I eat more than 1,500. So I have a low
Yeah. Yeah.
low point where I have to keep my calories, but it's so much easier to keep your calories down when you only eat that much. And so if you
Yeah.
do eat more of the veggie and more of the unprocessed meat, but the real meat. And that's another thing, is we
Yeah.
cook all the time. We do our
Yeah.
own cooking.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
And but even
Oh
going
my
out, you can
gosh.
make those good choices.
Yeah. And this is another reason, well, there's so much. And I need to go back to life before surgery for just a
Hmm.
second. But I want to get back to one of the reasons that I was so excited to have you on this and this whole series that I'm doing of successful maintainers, that people who have lost the bulk of, at least, their excess weight and then
Hmm.
kept it off for a while,
Hmm.
and 5 years is a while. And the
Hmm.
fact that you have done that, and one of the things that we find is it isn't a bootstrapping, solid willpower kind of thing. And in the end, there are some things we have to continue to do. And we also have to enjoy life. We
We
have to
have to
be able
enjoy
to have
life.
a bite of ice cream. We have to be able to
Yes.
include that
And I
and
do.
and
I
have
factor it in.
yeah, exactly. You factor it in. But
Hmm.
you also have rebuilt some habits that are just a fact of life right now. It's not
Right.
like you have to, again, you have to really muscle through it. They
No,
become your lifestyle. But
exactly.
I want to go back to when you decided that you'd had enough. You're in your 50s and you are going to, what made you think of bariatric surgery?
I couldn't think of what else to do. I had done so many diets. And
Hmm.
I only have brought up the highlights of the big diets that I went on with
Yes. Yeah.
large losses that were
Yeah.
successful for a period of time.
Yeah.
And then there's the little ones that you do every other day when this is the day I'm going to do it, a
Yeah.
thousand times, in
Yeah.
between
Yeah.
those.
Yeah.
Um, but I don't really know if there was a true catalyst in my life. I think it was just, I don't know. I just
But
kind of had,
you knew about bariatric surgery?
I
I
had
mean,
I'm a nurse. And we haven't mentioned that, but I'm a registered nurse. And so
yeah.
I've certainly heard of it and I knew of it, but I didn't know um anyone who had been really successful at it.
Yes.
And so I started reading about it. And
Yeah.
I just started thinking I need to do something, but I can't do another fad diet. And I knew it's like if I could just eat less, but if I eat less, I'm so hungry because my
Hmm.
stomach was stretched out. Well, of
Yeah.
course you're hungry
Yeah.
when you only eat a
Yeah.
toddler plate, when your stomach is
Yeah.
stretched out. So in my
Yeah.
logical brain, I thought if my stomach is stretched out, and I won't ever feel full if I only eat what I need to eat. So I thought if my stomach is smaller, then the amount I need to eat should feel like I'm a full person and that like am
Yeah.
satisfied. The feeling of
Yes.
satisfaction, And
Yeah.
so it just made logical sense to me. And what made logical sense to me in my world was not so much not the bariatric surgery, the help me with the other one. I had VSG, the gastric sleeve.
Me too.
Not
Yeah.
not the
So
bypass.
not the
I
ruin
didn't
why.
think I
Not the
needed the
ruin why. Yeah.
bypass. Yeah, I didn't think I needed the bypass. I thought if I could just control volume, I could put in my mouth the healthy foods that it needed. I just needed to feel full. I needed to be able to be
Yeah.
satisfied.
Yeah.
And
Did
so I talked to Dr. Alon about it, and because in the end, it's up to the surgeon which
absolutely.
procedure you get, and
Yes.
which is most appropriate for your health and your body. And he
Yes.
agreed; he was in
Yeah.
agreement. And so,
Yeah.
and then what's nice is if I were to fail this, which I don't intend to, but if I were to fail this, there is still yet another step I can do where if you
That's right.
start with bariatric, the full bariatric surgery,
The
then
ruin why. Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
then you can't go,
Right.
you can't undo it, and you can't go another step. That's pretty much it.
Right.
So
Yeah.
this way, I still have a fallback, but
Yeah.
I don't ever intend to use it because it just feels like in the last couple of years, it's just clicked, where it's just like, oh,
Yes.
okay, it's just
Yes.
clicked. Like this
Yes.
is my new reality, and this is not doesn't feel like I'm on a diet. I still cook the same
Yeah.
foods, but I certainly eat
Yes.
them in a different way and way less of what I used to eat, but I feel full.
Sure.
And I don't
Yeah.
get so starving in between.
Did you check out bariatric surgery in the US? Did you talk to
Yes.
your PCP or
No,
was there any of that?
my PCPs well, I've known my PCP for 30 for too many
Yeah.
years. Too many years.
Yeah.
And so I was embarrassed and I didn't tell her until after. And she's just like, "What'd you do?" But it's now been 5 years. I just had my labs, and that's another thing. There are side effects to these kinds of things, and that's something I don't think I've talked to you about. Um, my latest labs did show, because I've had it since worked on, but that I am anemic. And I've never been anemic in my life, but my iron is low. And you have to take iron when you have had bariatric surgery. The problem
Mhm.
with me is every time I'd put iron in and swallow, within 20 minutes I'd be heaving and throwing up. I tried all different kinds of long acting coating and whatever, and it didn't work.
Yeah.
So I bought patches, and
Oh,
my vitamin patches are working well. And my iron patches, I tried for a year, and we had my iron rechecked and it was even lower. So I had to have iron infusions. But what I have since found is berry melts, and it's a
yes.
melting one that goes under your tongue, and then I'm going to see how that works. So I'm taking those every day now, and I've had 2 iron infusions, and I feel much better, because I was starting to feel a little short of breath with long walks. I was starting to feel pretty tired, but
Yeah.
my hematocrit and my hemoglobin were so low that it's like, well, duh. But other than that, I haven't had any significant side effects that have affected my life, other than just looking good and feeling
Yeah.
better.
Yes.
And
I
you wouldn't
know
know that
it.
now because they
Isn't
don't know, but I have no makeup on, and my hair is not done today because we're moving. We're in the process of moving family in.
yeah.
But it's been really fun to go clothes shopping and
Yes.
to do fun things, which never was fun before for me, because I always admired women who dressed well. And I was
Yes.
jealous of women who dressed well, but to try to find those clothes in my size that would make me
And
look
in your town.
in my town, oh my word, heck yeah. And
Yeah.
so it's been really fun to just, you know, I found like a couple companies where I just love their clothing, and that's kind of my
Yes.
style now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, also, so you decide to go to Mexico. You're going to go to
Yes.
Mexico
Yes.
and get it done, and you
Yes.
did your research, which I
Yes, I did.
absolutely love.
Yes.
I'm not a nurse, but I am a nerd, and
Uh-huh.
I did the same thing when I decided, and I couldn't have it done in the U.S. because my insurance didn't cover it,
Mine
and
didn't either,
so
and I
I
couldn't afford it.
yeah, exactly. So I was very happy. And honestly, now that I've actually had, I had LASIX done in
Mhm.
Canada back in the day before it was a thing, even in the
Mhm.
US.
Mhm.
So I'm a medical tourism girl from the get-go. And then I
Good for
had
you.
my bariatric surgery in Tijuana at Hospital BC with Dr. Elon, and I
Mhm.
absolutely love him. And then I've had plastics done
Mhm. Me too.
also in Mexico. If I could have everything done in Mexico, I would.
I would too, because
And
they take such good care of you.
they
They take
do,
such
they
good care.
really do.
They appreciate the consumer. They appreciate
Yeah.
us as people.
Hmm.
There's never shame involved. And when you're a heavy person, you're used to feeling
Yeah.
ashamed all the time. And
Yeah.
there's no fat shaming, and they're just
Yeah.
so happy and supportive.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
I
loved it.
also feel like we live in such a litigious society that
Yes.
that physicians are afraid of malpractice, everything, and so there's so much covering their backsides that
Mm-hmm.
they have a hard time being able to just focus on us.
Yeah.
And I get that. Um, and I've also watched Botched. And there's a lot of fear mongering in the US to try and scare us as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to be very educated and make sure I was going to a good surgeon. And I interviewed
Yes.
everybody that I knew that had had bariatric surgery, especially the ones that had gone to Mexico. And there's good and bad doctors everywhere. That's just the truth of the matter.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And because it is big business in Mexico, there is a lot of it's hard sometimes to find the negative feedback, but
Mm-hmm.
it can be done. And again, finding through referrals and whatnot is one of the best ways, I think.
Mhm.
One, in general, also, there are, I think there are advantages and still disadvantages to having it done in Mexico. And
Mhm.
um, two of the big ones, and I'm interested to hear your thoughts. For me, two of the big issues that I find are number one, in the US, the accreditation body for bariatric programs require some education ahead of time and
Mhm.
some mental health screening and some support in terms
Right.
of nutrition and uh, also just kind of the mental and emotional component of life as a bariatric
And of weight
patient
control.
afterward.
It's a
And of
big
weight
part of
control,
weight
yes, all
control.
of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So those before and after components of
Mhm.
programs
Mhm.
um, are not as good in Mexico. They usually have like a Facebook group, and people can reach out if they want to, versus a requirement for regular appointments to check your labs and also monitoring labs.
Right.
Um, and those are really important components to
They are.
catch. Like you, I mean, as a nurse, it's
Yes.
great because you know what to look for and you're
Right.
educated. You've educated yourself about it. So those are two pieces that I think are really important.
Mhm.
Um, and then what was the other thing?
The support afterwards and the doing, what
The
about
support
doing
afterwards.
the stitch removal and things like that, or except
Yes.
that's for
For
the
plastics, yeah. For
plastics. Yeah.
plastics, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. But in terms of just knowing which program to go to and then educating yourself to sort of
Mhm.
mitigate the disadvantages or the pieces of the programs that
Mhm.
are required in the US and not as strong in a lot of the programs in Mexico. I think it's really important to be able to take the responsibility yourself for those
Right.
components so
Right.
that you have that better likelihood of catching anemia, of catching, like, I got I've been very good about all of my vitamins and getting my
Mhm.
labs done regularly and all of that. And I got an early diagnosis of osteopenia. So
Oh,
that's the precursor
yes.
to osteoporosis. I
Yes.
have always taken calcium, but
Mhm.
um, but that is something that is, and I had a hard time getting my doctor to order my DEXA scan because, oh, I wasn't old enough. The baseline isn't due until you're
Right.
60. And I'm like,
Right.
yeah. However, the ASMBS recommends that it's done starting 2 years after bariatric surgery. And she's like, oh, they do. Okay, let me get that ordered. And then it came back with osteopenia. So again, having these, you got to be even more educated than your doctor so that you can tell them and advocate for yourself.
Yeah.
Um,
And be really transparent with your doctor. I should have talked to my doctor ahead of time, but and she scolded me. But because Dr. Elon was so thorough about, before you even go down there, you have to send them labs.
oh
You have
yes,
to send them the labs already, and so
yes,
you have to have current labs, and then then he did all of the EKG and the chest X-ray and more labs
sure,
down there, and then they do the follow-up barium swallow, and they do that more than
yes,
once so that they can make sure there's
yes.
no leaks, and that's another important component.
Hmm.
But yeah, the mental health part, yeah, was never, that's something that wasn't addressed. That was
Yeah,
never
yeah,
addressed
yeah,
with the Mexican,
right.
yeah.
So did you have somebody, what kind of support did you have afterward in terms of, going through the prescribed, what do you call it? Like, so you have a week or so of a clear liquid and then
Yep.
of full liquids and
Yep.
then.
Yeah. What I did was, I am still an active part of the post-op support group with Dr. Elon's page. I still am on that every day. I follow it. I don't post every
Hmm.
day, obviously, but I'll still post at least once a week. They usually do face-to-face Fridays or looking back,
Yeah,
whatever, wet Tuesdays or something, throwback Tuesdays. And so that's kind of fun because then you can put a picture of your previous self within your heavy body and then your current self, and you can really see the difference. And face to
absolutely.
face is important, and it's important to people that are in the process of losing, because a lot of times when you're in the
Absolutely.
process of losing, those little pounds, you don't see them. Just like watching your kids grow every day, you don't see
Yeah.
them grow every day. But when you haven't seen a kid for 3 4 months and all of a sudden they look bigger to you, well, your face, especially, I had a fat face. I
Oh, I
carried a lot
know.
of weight in my, I
I
was
did
an
too.
apple, a true apple, all in my face, my breasts, and my upper abdomen and upper hips. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Um, oh my gosh. Yeah, total apple. And it was cool because if you just even look like a month apart, that your whole face shape is different, and each month you're changing. It really is
Yeah.
helpful. And so I
Yeah.
still do that to this day. I take a picture before I go to work of myself almost every day, just so I can see myself. And because I think I have a little bit of body dysmorphia going on too, and I think that most of us that
We all do.
suffer with that
Hmm.
have that. And so I
Hmm.
still will, all of a sudden I'll have like a bite of ice cream or something. I'll think, I'm so fat, I'm so fat, I'm so fat. And then I'll look at the pictures, and I'll look at my old pictures, and I'm like, okay, you got it. You're okay. You're not going to die from that, and you're making good choices, and we're just going to limit
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
But yeah,
And you have to
beating
enjoy your
yourself up.
life. I
Yeah, you
mean,
have to. You have
there's
to.
some peace that is that's more important sometimes.
Hmm.
I want to also go back to your so you didn't tell anyone,
Hmm.
and even when you told your husband, he has not been or wasn't
Wasn't.
very
Yeah.
supportive. Yeah, so I want to go back to the community that you have put together for yourself
Hmm.
and your established community beforehand, and how people are now.
Now it's totally different now. Yeah, I mean, my husband is my biggest cheerleader, and he's so proud of me that he's like, you really thought it through. You did your research. You're doing what you said you were going to do. Kudos. My
Yeah.
doctor is very proud of me and is supportive of me and has forgiven me for not letting her know ahead of time so that she could check
Yeah.
me beforehand.
Yeah.
Um, and I learned that lesson. So don't do what I did. That wasn't very nice.
Well, yeah.
And
Yeah.
then I've told my family. But you'll notice, like on Facebook, I don't talk about it because you're a Facebook friend of mine, aren't you?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, on
Yeah, but
Facebook,
I'm not on Facebook either. I go into the groups
okay,
that I'm a part of, like Dr. Elon's
right,
or
right,
whatever the groups that I'm part of. But I don't really, and I don't even do that very much. I'm not really a social
yeah,
media maven.
yeah.
But
Because I just
I
don't talk about
do
it
think that
online,
those
really.
are. Yeah, yeah. And I always say not everybody earns the right to have a voice in this very personal part of our
Hmm.
lives.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
I share it with who I want to share it with, and not really miss out on people that don't have a
Exactly.
thing to say.
And
Yeah.
like the people on the support group, I have friends on there that I've never met, of course, in real life, but in our lives on text, when online and stuff,
Yeah,
we support each other. And
for sure.
I've met several nurses on there that, you know, you get people coming back going, I can't believe you went to Mexico, and then you just sing their songs. Well, you know what? I have so many friends now who have gone or are planning to go, and
Yeah,
and I haven't had one person come back with a negative experience. Everyone has come back that just said, "Oh my
me too.
gosh,"
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
their lives are changing. you
Yeah.
know
Yeah. Yeah.
and it's like I was just so afraid. I've got children, and they're grown children now, and
And
I
grandbabies.
was, yeah, and a grandbaby that just moved in, yeah, and I was afraid that at my age and weight I was prime for picking for diabetes too. Type 2
Yeah.
diabetes is from
Yeah.
sedentary lifestyle and from foods and obesity and things. And I was really afraid of that. I was afraid of high blood pressure. I was afraid of all those things that were a real threat to me and to my future with my family. And
Yeah.
so it's amazing because those things are all just like, I used to take Lipitor, which is for your cholesterol and triglycerides and all that. And I don't have to do any of that. It's all beautifully controlled.
Yeah.
Um, I'm
Yeah.
not I wasn't a diabetic before, but thank goodness, I avoided that. I think I was on my way, to pre-diabetes. And,
Yeah,
so
I
yeah,
was.
it's just changed. And what's cool is the plastics. To me, what I wanted with plastics was I want to look like someone who never was morbidly obese to begin with, because
Yeah.
it's like I wanted the extra skin that was hanging here on me. Because a lot of times they'll lose weight in the face and then there's all this hanging skin and it's a dead giveaway. And I'm like, I don't even want a reminder. I don't want people to think, oh, you were fat. You don't have to be, no, but you were fat. I just like, oh, I just want it gone. And
Yeah.
so it was, for the perception of me, because you are treated differently when you're heavy. I felt it.
Absolutely.
I
Yes.
feel I
Nope.
feel
I
like people
absolutely, yeah.
don't appreciate, they don't respect you as much automatically. They don't
That's right.
they just
Trust.
don't acknowledge
Don't
you
trust.
sometimes they don't even acknowledge you as a person
Yeah.
very much. You
No.
know.
Yeah. Yeah, for
Um
sure.
so
So
I just
and
didn't want
and when
telltale
you
signs. Mhm.
so you did how long after bariatric surgery did you have plastics?
15 months I had my upper arms done, and I wanted to have abdominoplasty because I had this large abdomen and I had this pannus. Well, the problem
Yeah.
was, like, remember how I said I had a lot of, I was an apple with a big upper abdomen. Well, it turns out I
Yeah.
had a huge hernia there, but I was so fat,
You
you
didn't
couldn't,
know. Yeah.
no, because there
Yeah.
was just all
Yeah.
this fat there, but then there was also my intestines hanging out and everything. So what he had to do was he did my upper arms, and then, he corrected the abdominal hernia. Um, and then he said he felt so bad because he couldn't do the abdominoplasty on top of it because of the type of surgery that was done.
Yeah.
But he ended up doing, I believe it was a back lift, because
Yeah.
the back rolls that I
Yes,
just
I
love
do.
so much. We all love so much.
Yes. We
He
love
did
them.
a back lift. So it's like, pulling the curtain down, trimming it off, and you
Yeah.
can't see a thing. Even if I wear a low back dress, you don't even see the scars or anything. It's just amazing. And then,
So he did
that
that
was at
your
15
first
months.
I'm sorry.
That was my
Okay,
first
so
one
first
at
surgery
15
was
months.
arms, hernia repair, and back
Back
lift in
lift.
the first one. Okay.
Yes,
All right.
yes. I did all that at Hospital BC. My
Oh,
second,
wow. Okay, cool.
yeah, yeah. And then my second surgery was my real changer. It was my lower facelift. So my eyes and my forehead have not been touched. Um, but my jowls, this hangy jowls, and this part of my neck that was so,
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
was like it had its own zip code, and so this, and the only scar is this tiny little.
Oh my gosh,
Can you see it in the slide, Lynn?
Evelyn.
I can't even tell
Yes.
if you can see it. It's you can't
Next
see
to
it.
nothing.
No, you can't
No.
see it. And I'm a
Wow.
white girl, and so it just blends in with
Yeah.
my skin. And so I
Yeah.
did that, and then I did 360 lipo,
Yes.
and the rest of I did the actual tummy tuck. So
Yeah.
because he was able to, now that the hernia was repaired, he was able to do the tummy tuck itself.
Did
So
he have to do did he have to do fleur de lis up to your breastbone with
I
your
did,
yeah.
and
Yeah.
and I did a tattoo, my friend. Did I
Oh,
show
I
you that
know.
tattoo?
It is
Yes,
so
it is
gorgeous.
gorgeous. It is.
I
I
want,
did.
want, want,
It is a belly dancer
want.
tattoo. So I have a
I
fleur
know.
de lis that goes from my breastbone down to my pubic bone, so that it
Yeah.
draws in and gives me my waist. because it pulls in
Yes.
the sheet that was there. So I've had the back lift and then all that pulled around plus pulled down. So you have the anchor kind of thing where it's down here at the
Yes.
pubic area.
Yes. So
You can still
beautiful.
wear a bikini though,
Yeah,
and then the fleur de lis, and then I have that as a whole belly dancer costume. You can't even see a scar on me. You can't see it.
I know. It's
It's
so
amazing.
gorgeous.
It's amazing. And so then what? Oh, but then what do you do with the extra fat from the 360 lipo? You set
Yeah.
it in the you put it in your butt.
Yeah. You just move it around to where
You
it
just
needs to
move
be
it. And
because,
he's
yeah.
like, well, he's like, he said, no, I know
Yeah.
you aren't down here for this, but I'm going to have the fat. Do you need anywhere filled out? And I said, well, my butt has become a pancake. And he goes, well, it's not a big
Exactly.
deal to
People
do a
don't think
fat
about that.
transfer. So I, and you know what? I was just asked out. I was asked recently if what they wanted to know what butt exercises I do because I have such a great butt now, and I've never had a great butt in my life. And so it's like now, and so, yeah, he did all that and it didn't hurt. It didn't, I mean, I was so shocked by how little it hurt, except for the 360 lipo. You know, you're alive. It
Yeah.
feels like you were
Yeah.
smacked around with a bag of oranges. But,
For a
and
little
my
bit.
bruising,
Yeah.
and I'm very white and I bruise like anything. And I was
Yeah.
black and
Yeah.
blue. But honey, it
Yeah.
was so worth it. It was so worth it.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
all I took, I didn't take narcotic pain meds. All I took was
No.
their
Yeah. I
ibuprofen
didn't
and
either.
Tylenol. And
Yeah.
they took great care of me. And I stayed for, I
Now,
think, 3 days, 4 days in the hotel.
yeah.
And then they would come and
Yeah.
check me every day because I went by
I know
myself
they come to
again
the hotel.
to the
I love that.
hotel and
I know.
look at your incisions and see if you need anything and la la la. And, I'm telling you, go. I went by myself for all of my stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I am curious. So with plastics,
Yeah.
so you had two, the
I've
upper
done a
and
third. I've done a third.
oh,
I
your arm. No, you did your
no,
arms first. What was the third? Breast
My
lift.
breast lift. Yeah. And then I did
Yes.
the armpit fat. I
Yeah,
did.
that's a whole other, yeah,
That's a
that's
whole
another
other
whole thing.
thing.
Yep.
And so I used to have, you wear a bra and then you have this big
Yes.
thing of skin that
Yes.
just hangs
Yes.
over. So you can't wear a tank top or a tank dress
I
without a big
know.
flap. And so I had the flap removed. So I'm flapless
Yeah,
now. Yeah. So I did the flap
love
and
that.
I lifted the breasts and they're just right back where they're supposed to be and they look like they did before I had kids.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and I'm done. I've done everything I wanted. I didn't do my thighs because I never carried weight in my thighs anyway. And I'm not
Yeah.
going to do my eyes or my face because I want to look natural. I just want the excess skin
Right.
either
Just the skin. Yeah.
filled
Yeah.
out or
Yeah.
removed.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Yeah.
really feel like the plastics are a game changer because, you know, I've lost like 100 pounds a couple of times before I
Mhm.
had bariatric surgery. And like you, we end up putting it back on with
Mhm.
friends.
Yeah.
And it was very I understood how there's going to be excess skin because that's what I
Mhm.
experienced when I lost
Mhm.
before.
Mhm.
And it is very difficult. It is a mind messer upper to still have that skin when you're trying so hard. And I at that time when I was losing weight before bariatric surgery, I got body comps done. And so
Mhm.
I thought that I would still have fat to lose. And I got down to 12% body fat, which is really,
That's
really low
insane.
for women.
That's
Yeah.
really low. Yeah.
And yet I had this fat
Yes.
that I felt like I still needed to get rid of, and you will never get rid of it because it
No,
isn't fat, it's
the
skin.
skin.
And
Yeah,
so it's like it's really demotivating to
it
still
is.
have that. And let me tell you, I don't know about you, but after I had plastics, I am so motivated. I am
Oh my
so
gosh.
like
Yes.
I love this body. I
Yes.
I loved who I was before,
Yes.
and I loved things about my body. I loved my strength. I liked my
Hmm.
shape. I liked so many things, but that skin was really hard
Honey,
to
you're
love.
talking to the
And
queen of Spanx, the queen of
I know,
Spanx.
right?
Um,
Yes.
everything I could
Yeah,
come. Oh, do you know what else I did? Okay, before I had my neck and stuff, I'm like, I used every trick in the book because I didn't want to go from looking like a hag to suddenly having,
right.
and so
Yeah.
I did neck tape, and
Oh,
I taped my neck back together for about 6 months before I went back to have my surgery. And look at that.
my
And so
gosh.
and so I had that. I had Spanx, of course, and a
Oh, yes,
radial
absolutely.
industrial strength bra to hold my double
Yes.
D's up as much as I could. And I
Yes.
wasn't even going to do the breast until I had the last surgery, and I was going to do my arm flap. And the lady said, the doctor I was going to, she said, now, do you want to do just the flap, or we can do it all from one incision? We can do it all from your armpit and do your breast lift laterally. So there's no incision scar. And then do your breast flap all in one thing. And I'm like, okay,
Yes,
that sounds
please.
better,
Sign me
because
up.
I'm like,
Yes.
oh, I didn't know if I
Wow.
wanted to go through a whole and it was like nothing. It didn't hurt. It was like I couldn't believe it. The top of the armpit, it was a little tender right where your arm bends. It was just a
Yeah, yeah,
little bit
yeah.
tender until I
Mm.
got the stitches dissolved. And then it was like, okay. Then it was like a game changer, because I'm telling you, I can wear anything, and there aren't rolls and flaps, and I don't have to tuck stuff into my underpants anymore. And oh yeah, oh yeah, I had Spanx that went from my ankles to my chin. Yeah, yeah, I was just one
Wow. Yeah, yeah,
spanked
yeah.
out. Practically used duct
And
tape.
I think that there's a place, and that's an option for
Hmm.
for people,
Hmm.
but
It
it
helped
really is a game changer
now, but then you have to get naked, and there
at
goes
some
all your
point.
tricks. There
Yeah,
go your
yeah,
tricks. And so, and
yeah,
well, my husband always loved me, and has always loved me through thick and thin,
yeah,
literally.
yeah,
He was fine with whatever I wanted to do. Well, let me tell you, now that it's all done, enough
yeah.
said. Enough said. Yeah. 38
Awesome.
years. 38 years, and
Going strong.
oh my gosh. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That's
Just saying.
fantastic. I
Just saying.
love, love, love that.
Yeah.
Um, so let's see, there was another thing I wanted to touch on. So life now,
Hmm.
you've touched on the fact that you had, the weight melted off and it
Hmm.
stayed off.
Hmm.
And that is not everyone's story.
No.
A lot of times people end up putting it back on, or
Mhm.
life that things happen in life and they start to regain and then they are ashamed. We know that cycle.
Yes.
So yours melted off,
Mhm.
stayed off,
Mhm.
and you are able to still have life. A little bit of ice
Yes.
cream, you work it into everything else, but what is your lifestyle now compared to before,
Well,
that
I'm
you're
I'm
able to
really
maintain
busy
it?
now because I am an active grandma of our 1-year-old granddaughter. They were living in California. They situations came up where they want to try to have a house, and it's too expensive where they are, so they have moved in with us to save money. And I get up
Yeah.
early every morning. I'm up at 4. I have energy. I've been unloading boxes. I put my granddaughter in my backpack and had her helping me unload boxes because she woke up early. I've got my 6
Yes.
pugs that keep me very active. We have two,
Six.
we have 6 pugs. Yeah.
Yeah, you
And
raise them, right? Don't you?
I do raise them,
They're
and
they're registered, yeah.
They're ready, and we have 2 litters a year. 3 of my girls are retired. They wear pearls now, and they are spoon fed a bite of vanilla ice cream every night because they did their job well, and they served our family well, and they were good mamas. And so I keep them forever. I don't give my babies away.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah.
yeah, and then I just have 2 girls left that still have a litter once a year for another couple years, and then they will be spayed as well. But the babies I help deliver, I go through every contraction with the mamas. I sleep next to the whelping pool for the whole 8 weeks I have them before they go to their forever home. So that keeps me really busy. Just busy
Wow.
at work. I work full time now still as a pediatric registered nurse. And I've been married for, like I said, 38 years, and 3 children. One of my children lives across the street from me. He's severely, profoundly autistic. He's on the very severe side of
Oh,
autism, and is severely intellectually disabled, and nonverbal, etc. He's
wow.
32 now. My goodness, he's getting old. And then my daughter is older than he is, and then my younger son is in San Diego, and he just came up to help with the move, and I just drove him to Bend yesterday to take him back to fly home. So it's been a busy lifestyle, but I can do it now, and I don't limp anymore.
Yeah.
I don't limp. I
Oh,
don't
see,
feel like I look 60 anymore. When I mean, today I do because I don't have any makeup on, but on a good day, I feel like I present well, and I
you
feel
do. You
terrific. I
do.
feel
Yeah.
terrific. Yeah,
Yeah.
but thank you.
So when you so you don't go to the gym, or you don't have like a specific exercise routine that you try
No,
to maintain
no,
because you are busy, busy
I
enough.
am busy enough, but I also do home things. I have an upper arm. I like to work my upper arms because I don't want to get arm flaps. And so I have just my weightlifting for arms, but I just do stuff
Yeah.
online. I just throw on my YouTube videos that are the ones that tell me the ones to do, and I throw
Yeah.
those on, and then walking in the neighborhood, and that's about it. I don't do a heavy gym routine. I don't do that.
Wow.
And I if
Yeah.
I did, Dee Dee, I could eat more calories. So
Mm.
that's something that you have to consider. Now, if you have a more sedentary lifestyle, then you have to adjust your calories. That's why I say I factor in. So if I factor in ice cream, great. I'm just going to make sure that at lunch I didn't eat at the clinic. I didn't grab the donuts that the doctor brought in that day, and I didn't grab. I'll just stick with my
Yeah.
apple and my cheese and my almonds.
Yeah.
Big deal. And so I can still eat. And again, I factor those things in. And then when I work harder, like the last 4 days of lifting boxes and moving, I was able to eat a little bit more because I use my body more. So
Yeah.
I'm figuring it out, and it seems to be working.
Yeah. I mean, that's the key. It's
Yeah.
working. So,
Yeah.
and so then with your iron
Yes.
deficiency, you said, did I hear you say that you get infusions
I had
every
two
once in a while?
infusions.
Uh-huh.
I've
And
only
then the
had,
berry
this is
melts
all
now.
new. This is all
Uh-huh.
new. Because until last year, my iron was totally normal. And then last year, so at about year 4, it started to go down a little, and I started to add the patch, hoping that that would be enough, and it wasn't.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I got 2 infusions because I was symptomatic, and my hemoglobin was only 9, and
Mm.
where normally it's at 14 for me. So it was a big drop. And my hematocrit was at 29, and mine is usually about 41 to 44. So it was a
Mm.
big drop.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Over time. Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
Interesting. And so your primary monitors your labs with you? She
Yep,
orders? Okay.
my doctor does, yeah. And
Yeah.
then she follows vitamin D, she follows I
Hmm.
mean all the
All
standard
the ones. Yeah.
all the ones that they
Panels.
recommend,
Yeah.
she's been
Yeah.
following. Yeah. And then again,
Beautiful.
though, that but mention again the bone density scan. I think that's a good idea, that we need to be getting that done because that's
Yeah.
something that I haven't even seen on the support group. So
No,
that I should
no,
mention on the
it's
support group.
I again, this is part of my research down my rabbit hole, but I
Yeah.
the ASMBS has very specific guidelines, and they do
Hmm.
update them, but it's been pretty consistent, and
Hmm.
they do recommend having a DEXA at
Yep.
least 2 years after surgery, beginning 2 years after surgery. And again, it was one that my doctor said, it's not required because you don't need your baseline until you're 60.
Hmm.
And I got my surgery. I think I was 51 because I'm almost
Hmm.
8 years now.
Right.
And so it took a while to convince her. And then I remembered that it was an ASMBS guideline, and that
Right.
was what she needed to hear. And it's one of the things I do with my clients, that I help them have those conversations with their doctors. And I did it
Such a good
before
idea.
I went down and had surgery, and I talked to her and just said, look, I'm doing this, and here's why.
Hmm.
It is not covered by my insurance, but it is
Hmm.
part of the standard of care for the
Hmm.
treatment of obesity.
That's right.
And so, if you know all the things that your doctor is thinking, then you can
Hmm.
advocate for yourself in a better way. And
Right.
I also told her that I am going to be needing regular labs afterward.
Hmm.
Um, Immediately following surgery, I will need them at 3 months, 6 months, 9 months,
Right.
a year and a half, 2 years, and then annually. And she's like, well,
Yeah.
that's kind of a lot. And I was like, and the reason is
Hmm.
your labs
Good for you.
change so
Yeah.
much, and you really do need those done. And there's a lot more labs that are usually tested for bariatric. It's not
Yeah.
just
Yeah,
iron.
well,
It's not,
it's
I
just
mean,
when
it's
you think
ferrous.
about like 6 months out, remember how when your hair got really thin? I mean, did your
Yes,
hair?
it
Yeah,
does.
like
I
I'd
did.
say
Yeah.
most of us, 95% of us, our hair falls out at about six
Yeah.
months, and then it's a
Yes.
long process. Well, think about the rest of your body. That's a huge response to a dramatic weight loss, and so the rest of your body is going through those same changes. And
Yeah.
so it isn't
Yeah.
just the hair loss. There's all kinds of internal things. So all those labs are so critical to monitor.
They really are. And so I told her I need to know if you are going to support me in that,
Yes.
because a lot of times they don't want to do labs that they don't then know how to interpret. But
Ah.
I said that's okay because I do know how to interpret them. I have done my
Mhm.
research, and I
Mhm.
know I
Mhm.
know what I'm looking for. So
Right.
so I just think having being prepared and having those conversations is really important if you feel like your doctor has earned the privilege of being a part of that decision for you.
Right. Right. And
Otherwise,
again,
finding
she's been
somebody
so
that will.
supportive, thank goodness. Otherwise, if she hadn't been, I would have been finding another doctor because I've got to have
Yeah.
supportive people in my life.
Yeah,
Because this was
for
a big
sure.
deal. This is a big
Yeah.
deal and a big change. Yeah.
Yeah. Evelyn, I feel like you and I could sit and talk about this and
Oh
so
my
many other
gosh.
things
So many
a
things.
lot. But I
I know.
know
Yeah,
we are
yeah,
coming
yeah, yeah,
up
yeah, yeah.
on, I know, but we are coming up on an hour. I want to be sensitive to your time, and I know that you are moving and unpacking and got a big house full from now on. So
Hmm. Hmm.
congratulations on
Thank
everything.
you.
And you look amazing, and it's been
Oh,
so fun to
thank you.
talk to you. So
Thank
thank you
you,
so
Dee
much
Dee.
for your time.
Thank you. I appreciate being here. You take care.
Hey, you too. Bye.
Bye.
Wasn't that great? I so appreciate Evelyn's radical honesty. And I also have mad respect for the fact that her husband loved her from the beginning in a bigger body and didn't even support her initially, her decision to have bariatric surgery, because he loved her just the way she was. And just like her, he was afraid that she was going to regain again. But like Evelyn says, she's a grown ass woman, makes her own decisions, and she knew what she needed to do for herself. And then her husband came around, and their relationship's even better than ever. And also, I mean, come on, getting married in her grandmother's wedding dress on her grandmother and grandfather's anniversary with them in attendance. How Disney is that? So, so sweet. Thank you so much to Evelyn for joining the Wild Rebel Wellness community and sharing her story to help support all of us on our path to wellness. If you're considering bariatric surgery or are navigating life afterward and feel like you could use some support, I would love to help you. I had bariatric surgery over 7 years ago and am also a national board certified health and wellness coach. I've also got over 30 years of experience working in hospitals and medical clinics in the US, so I get it. If you'd like a discovery call with me, all you need to do is tell me a little bit more about yourself and your journey at the link in the podcast description below. And I've also got some other resources there for you, so be sure to check it out. Remember, being well in this era and in this culture, it's an act of rebellion. So go, be a rebel and be well. Until next time.